Welcome to the Business Leaders Legacy Podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes with business leaders to uncover their vision, strategy, and challenges they face along the way. My name is Chris Bruner. I'm the CEO of Simple AI Solutions and the host of today's podcast. Today, I'm excited to announce Luke Gibson, the owner of LG Equipment. He's been my friend for a long time and has a wide variety of experience in the trades. Luke, can you introduce yourself and tell our listeners a little about you, your business, and the customers you serve?
Good morning, Chris. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. So, I started in the heavy equipment business when I was 7. Believe it or not, when I was in second grade, they pass out those little sheets and it asks what you want to do when you grow up. And I wrote equipment operator on there. So I'm probably one of the few people that actually ended up doing what they wrote. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've loved equipment, loved tractors since I was a little kid, and was able to make some money in a business out of it. And it's been a blessing. Um, so when I was 7, my dad helped me get my first tractor. It was just a small Ford, like garden tractor with a mower. And I'd go around in Crest and mow people's fields. And it just slowly started that way. And was able to get my second tractor when I was 14. I got my first bulldozer. And then I was able to start grading roads and house pads, and it just slowly evolved from there.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's been a long time of you doing this.
Yeah, yeah, my whole life. It's all I know.
Yeah, and is that what kind of led into how LG equipment came about? Um, what like you mentioned it was kind of something you wanted to do since you were a little kid. And is that you just took that and ran with it and just started doing more and more, and eventually LG equipment became a business?
Yeah, so I continued doing work on my own till I was probably about 19, I think is when I hired my first employee. And it was just out of necessity that I couldn't do all the work myself anymore. So I needed to expand. So hired my first employee. He's actually still with me today. He's my general manager. He runs the company. Um, but hired him, and he was helping me with the work. And about 21, I decided I needed to incorporate, and so incorporated the business, um, and got my contractor's license, and then began hiring more people and expanding from there.
Yeah, no, that's neat. That's really cool. What is something about running this kind of business that most people wouldn't realize unless they've done it before?
Well, I wish I could say that it continues to get easier over time, but it's actually been getting harder the last few years, and I think that's probably several different factors. But like most of the trades, it is getting harder to find qualified personnel to help. A lot of our trade people have moved out of California. They've moved to Texas and Idaho and Arizona. Um, so that's one of our challenges, is to find good truck drivers, good operators. I mean, really, even good laborers are hard to find. Um, a lot of the people you have to train, and it takes a considerable amount of time and money. So I would say personnel is probably one of the hardest challenges. The other thing about the grading industry, each job isn't the same. Um, Whereas like with underground, it's it's fairly cut and dry, fairly generic. There's only a few ways that you can do it. With grading, you run into unforeseen things, whether it's soft ground or lots of rock or so each job's a little different, and there can be money lost if it's not done the correct way. And
Yeah.
so it's hard to get jobs where they're in a sense automated. There's a lot of hand holding and a lot of time in the field making sure that things are done the correct way, not only so that you make money, but so that the job is done correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. What part of the job still gets you fired up and excited? What do you enjoy most?
Uh, well, one of the facets that we do is water. So we'll do water infrastructure for wind or solar projects or bigger construction jobs. So on these larger wind and solar projects, I enjoy putting all the pieces together and then meeting the demands of the job. It seems like a fairly simple thing, but for some reason it's enjoyable to me. I enjoy meeting and dealing with all the different customers and um, water districts and lining everything up and then making it happen. It can be a challenge. Some of these jobs consume a large amount of water and they go on for a year or two.
Hmm.
So it's the task, but it's an enjoyable project. So that's some of the things like that. Some of the unusual, um, some of our harder rock jobs, they're fun. They can be challenging, but it makes you think outside the box and come up with different ways. So I prefer when we're given a project and we're not told exactly how to do it, and we're able to come up with some different techniques or ways and let this work outside the box. So it's more
Yeah.
enjoyable.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. That's neat. The customer wants something a specific way, and even though as the expert it may not be the best way to do it, but it's hard. That's a hard battle. So yeah, I could understand that. How do you stay competitive when it comes to cost and timelines and labor in general, with just everything shifting constantly?
Yeah, so that's a real challenge, because everybody out there that's similar to us are facing the same costs. Diesel's really expensive. I mean, really across the board, costs have increased dramatically over these last few years. Tires and batteries, all this stuff has really gone up. Labor's gone up. Um, so it is a real challenge. We just try to keep an eye on the jobs, manage them closely. There's not a lot of extra in there for loss. So we've got
Yeah.
to keep them on a tight schedule and make sure that we're getting as much done every day as we can.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes sense. What's been going really well for LG equipment lately?
Well, we do a fair amount of work in mobile home parks, and so we're trying to be their one-stop shop. If they need something done, that they can come to us, and we'll help them with their needs. Um, so we've been doing solar lighting for a lot of them, and I think that's an area that we've seen grow, and we've been able to meet their needs and provide them with a quality product. And so I think serving the mobile home industry is one of the things that we probably for about 9 or 10 years now we've been doing, and we're continuing to grow into that field um, and starting to. We cover Southern California up into LA and out to Barstow, but we're trying to branch over into Yuma right now. So that would be one of the areas that we're hoping, possibly this next year, we might make it into Yuma to do some work over there.
Yeah, and specifically with mobile homes, you mentioned solar lighting. What does that look like? Like, you able to walk us through the process of how exactly you serve them in that way?
Yeah, so a lot of these mobile home parks are going through an upgrade program with SDG&E, and so they're converting their gas and electric in the park, and so some of their existing lighting would be on their old legacy system, and so we've got to come back through and redo that. And the easiest way is to just put solar lighting in. And
Mm.
so we may put solar lights on some of the existing fixtures. A lot of times we'll just go back through and put new poles in new locations, adding to the light, and then having new areas that we can put lights in.
Yeah.
It's really nice with the solar lights. We're not constrained by some areas that maybe were too difficult to get underground to,
Mm.
or the unsightly overhead. So we can pick and choose where we put them, and they work really good. They hold up and last, and they provide nice light.
Yeah.
So our customers have been real happy with them.
Yeah, and it are mobile homes, is that like your ideal customer? And how, if so, like how do you find new, I guess, customers like that?
So over the years, predominantly it's been word of mouth. We advertise very little. um, so sometimes, like with the mobile home parks, we will go out and solicit them, um, and we will talk to mostly the managers or the um, mobile home park management companies. So the nice thing is a lot of them will be managed by the same management. So we get in with one company, and we may get several mobile home parks out of that management company. But as far as just general public, a lot of it's word of mouth. Um, we'll do a job for a customer in Lakeside, and he'll tell his neighbor or friend, and we'll get that work. So we don't have any ads running anywhere. Most of our customers uh, we've been with for a long time. My oldest customer, I think, is probably close to 25 years old, that I've been working for one company. Um, we still do a large amount of their work for them. So um, we've got kind of a small client base, and it's just a lot of repetitive return work.
Yeah. And as your company grows, do you see yourself reaching out to new customers or more reaching to those past customers that have you've built that relationship with? Or is
Well,
that?
this year's been a little bit slow, so we have looked at branching out and talking to some new customers. Depending on how next year goes, we feel like it's going to pick up. I mean, it seems to be picking up already a little bit.
Hmm.
So if it doesn't pick up enough, then yeah, we'll have to advertise, or we're going to have to reach out and try to pick up some more work or diversify a little bit.
And other than mobile homes, what other type of customers do you look for?
So we work for residential. We work for homeowners. That's what I started with. When I first started, was predominantly homeowners. Um, but as the company grew, we went into the commercial side, and I would say probably 80% of our work is commercial now. We don't do a whole lot for homeowners. I think it probably has to do somewhat with the economy too. There's not a lot of people building homes right now, so they don't need us for grading or underground. But as that picks up, then some more of our work will go into the residential side. But it seems like there's still a fair amount of commercial going on. They're building new buildings. There's the continual needing to replace underground water lines and do repairs and fixes, and fire services. We do a lot of fire services for commercial buildings. The backflows, those get old and rust out, and we replace them. Um, so most of it is on the commercial side, and there seems to still be a fair amount of work going on in that industry.
Yeah. Yeah, and are there thinking about just like challenges and within the industry or even your company, what you'd mentioned, work in general has slowed down, and then staffing, as just not as many people in the trades, or newer people coming in. But are there any other challenges that you are facing in your company right now?
Um, well, tariffs do affect us too, with parts and availability of items. We haven't seen a huge factor with that, but that is another item. And depending on availability of items, some of our heavy equipment items, wear items, that affects pricing and availability. Um, I would say that that's probably, one of the items right now. As far as, we're going into wintertime, and rain is always a challenge for us. If it's raining, we can't really be working. It just makes a mess of projects,
Yeah.
and you've got to try to control that. Um, so that poses for a slowdown and pushes our schedules and makes for a challenge. So, the
Mhm.
next few months we've got to work around that too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, one other question in regards to just your current state. How do you measure success? Is it growth in volume? Is it smoother operations, better margins? What what's the most important thing in regards to success?
Well, I would say it's definitely all three of those things.
Mm.
Um, if you don't have income and you don't have you're not generating a profit, then it takes a lot of the fun out of it, and at some point you can't do it anymore. But
Yeah.
that isn't everything. Smoother operations is always a really big. Uh, you know, Not only is it nice to see when things are running smoother, but it also takes a lot of the stress off.
Mm.
Because that can be a huge time consumption, just managing everything.
Yeah.
So it is really nice when you can get some profit coming in and the job's running smooth, and everybody working together, the
Yeah.
employee and the customers, and the job's running smoothly.
Yeah.
Um, so that is very nice when it works that way, and sometimes it does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. So moving a little bit to your future goals and where you're headed, where do you hope LG equipment will be 6 to 12 months from now?
Well, I'm very optimistic about next year. Things picking up. I feel like it should be a much better year. Uh, this year's been tough. I think a lot of people have stopped projects because of their concerns with the tariffs and the uncertainty in the economy. I think people are either at a point where they just have to get going with their project, or with interest rates coming down, they feel a little bit more certain or feel better about moving forward. So we see things already starting to move and break loose. So I expect next year to be much better in work. Um, there should be a lot more jobs, hopefully a little bit more profitable.
Mm.
Um, there are um, a few more people coming on to the job market because things are so slow right now. So if we pick up some bigger jobs, I think there's a potential of some new hires. So
Yeah.
I'm really optimistic about next year being better, being able to expand some, hire some people, and go after some of these jobs.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense. And what would next year, what would a really successful next year look like for you? Would that be like gaining a specific amount of jobs? I know you mentioned moving into another service area. I think you said Yuma. And maybe you said a different place, but
Yeah,
what would a very successful year look like next year?
yeah, that's a good question. So it would be neat to move into Yuma, even if we got one or two jobs, but to be able to branch into that. and pick up a new customer. That would be definitely a win. Um, I'd like to double the work volume that we did this year. So like to pick up quite a few guys if possible. And, we've got, there's a potential of 2 to 3 different areas with larger jobs that we could go after as long as they're ready. So there's a potential for a lot more work next year. Um, Seeing some of the equipment out of the yard, that would be good. That would be a plus. It needs to be out on jobs making money, not sitting.
Yeah.
Um, More rentals and some more profit, would
Yeah.
definitely be exciting.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. If you had a tool that or a system set up or something that can make part of the business easier to achieve to get to those goals, what might it be? And what would you want to focus on first?
Well, I think it would probably be an individual, um, probably managing our guys, overseeing them. As we grow, we'll probably need to bring somebody in to help facilitate that. Um, so it would probably be, either within um, raising up one of our foreman or manager to help with that position, or bringing somebody in just to help things run smoother and oversee the guys in the field a little bit more.
And to start doing that, what essentially has I guess has blocked you from doing that? Is that just the amount of jobs haven't come through yet to make that a, the I guess like a top priority, or are you waiting for something else?
Yeah, I would say this year we've been slow, and so we minimized, just trying to shave expenses where we could, and so we've been as lean as we could this year, just kind of squeak through and to make it to next year. So
Yeah.
once we have more jobs going and more income coming in, it's easier to justify that position.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That totally makes sense. Okay, when you think of LG equipment like 5 years down the road, what can you like paint a picture of what that might look like? Like, where do you want LG equipment to be in 5 years?
Yeah, well, it would be great if we had, I mean, you know, big picture and, really exciting would be a possible location or office in Yuma. It doesn't need to be big, but, just a small location servicing Yuma. Um, like to be, just a well-oiled machine where things are running smooth. Um, Hope to have some more customers where we're not as, with the slowdowns, not as affected as much. I think if we could pick up a few more big customers, it would help us through the slow times. And,
Hmm.
it one of the challenges in construction is the feast and famine, slowing down and then things pick up and then you've got to try to, find guys and everybody scrambling to try to
Yeah.
cover when it's busy. So, trying to even that out, I think is a challenge that everybody always struggles with. So getting that as smooth as possible so that operations are just kind of a day to day, people know what to expect and we're able to meet the demands of everybody. That's one of the challenges that would be nice if we had that taken care of.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, just getting the company up where it's running real smooth. You always have challenges and unforeseens and unknowns, but minimizing those and making it a smooth day-to-day operation would be really enjoyable for me. It
Yeah.
would be fun to see, you know, see it just continue to work without a real challenge or a real push.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Um, So, Luke, I've really appreciated our conversation today. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for sharing tons about your business. To close, I'd like to ask one last question. Since this is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast, and you, as a business leader and owner of LG Equipment, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, I hope that our customers trust us. We want to be known as a Christian company that does quality work and that they will continue to call. Uh, we want to be known for what we do and to leave a legacy that they can call us, in 5 or 10 years, that they know that they're going to get a quality job when they call us and we'll take care of it. And there won't be shortcuts or problems. So that's, every day we're hoping to do the best job that we can. And, we don't think of it as a one-time job and a one-time customer. Um, like I said, our oldest customer is about 25 years old. So we want to continue to do the best job we can so that they call us again and again. We're in it for the long run, not, one time and then hope, they find somebody else.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That's definitely an honorable. Well, thank you so much, Luke. I really appreciate it. Again, this is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast. Thank you for tuning in.